This is Girls of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. In this video, I'm going to go through tons of different tangents of why Three Girls in Love Responsible Polygyny is beneficial for women and children on a massive scale. And I'm going to use in the beginning some examples of why this is in terms of men and women being different. We're massively different, and if you haven't understood that, then look again, because it's so observable, it is absolutely ridiculous. And if you've ever thought the thought, why did he do that? Like, is he stupid? It just means that he thinks completely differently than you do. Our brains are just completely different when it comes to the wiring, okay? There's a fantastic comedian skit by a guy named Mark Gungor, and he talks about how men have boxes. Okay, so they're able to like have boxes inside their brain, and then they put a topic in there or a theme, and then they take it out, they discuss it, and then they carefully put it back inside that box, and then they take out another box. And it's very straightforward like that. Masculine men. Feminine women, however, they have wires, okay? Wires in their brain where everything's connected. And it's a good thing, okay? And it makes, basically, it makes good things absolutely amazing because it connects all of the wires together to make it fantastic. But when bad things happen, then it becomes really bad and it blows up in one's face. That's a good thing too, because it lets us know that something is wrong and something needs to be fixed. Both complement each other absolutely beautifully, and we need both. And we're not going to become hermaphrodites. Men are not going to become more women, and so there's balance there, and women are not going to become more men for there to be balance there either. That's insane and should never be done. We should focus on our strengths. Don't spend time building up your weaknesses if they're not necessary. Now, if weaknesses were necessary to become strengths, like if you had to do this in order for you to become more of a woman, and for your children to be taken care of better, and for you to have happiness in your life, you needed to be masculine as a woman, then great, then do that. But those are in very, very few compartments. This is the yin and yang type thing. Women were designed to be 95% feminine. And the 5% is a latent power that women were or are to use in the bedroom. Masculinity is fantastic in the bedroom. And number two, when there are emergencies. Okay, so if there's emergencies, then women tap into their masculinity and they're flippin' good at it. And they can flip the switch whenever, and actually the flipping of the switch happens automatically anyway. Women are designed naturally, perfectly the way they are, if they simply remain the feminine person they were in their childhood and in their teenage years when they had nothing to worry about, no burdens, no problems whatsoever. Everything was taken care of. You simply had to focus on you being happy and you having fun. That's what we're returning to with Three Girls in Love Responsible Polygyny. It's for you. Okay? Remember that. Men are completely different in that wiring. We don't need a bunch of people around us, even though we do enjoy very much women's company once in a while, but it's kind of like 5 to 20% of the time. Other than that, our awake time, we'd like to be focused on business. We like to focus on power and attaining more power. We'd like to focus on establishing our empire. We'd like to focus on our careers. We'd like to focus on having a great time with the guys. And that's what we want to do. Okay? This is how men function. We want to be away from you guys. It's insane to think about, but you also want that too. And I'll let you know why. It's because you desire a man who's a mystery. And if a man, your man, is gone 80% of the time or 95% of the time, and you're not lonely because you've got your best friends forever in responsible polygyny with 3 girls in love, he can actually be gone most of the time, making him a mystery. And you know that when men are mysterious and they don't talk much and you don't know what they're doing and you're wondering what they're thinking about, that's when you become attracted to them. Masculine men do not make women their purpose. Masculine men makes their purpose and keeps it that way. The moment the man prioritizes his woman, his one single woman, that's when she falls out of love with him because he doesn't have power. If you think about it from a sexual standpoint, a man desires a woman to receive pleasure. That's actually where men receive their pleasure from, is when the woman receives tons of pleasure from his power. And nothing else can give her that pleasure than he. When that happens, the man is fired up outside of his brain when he gives you that pleasure. But the way that monogamy is set up, it's designed in such a way that the woman decides everything in the home. And she's basically the leader of the home, and she's the domestic, goddess, all right? And when he comes in, everything that he does is wrong. This is also the case in sexuality, not only the kitchen and how he treats the kids, but also in the bedroom. And that becomes very problematic when there's just one woman who desires the man. That desire every single time will dry up over time. In 3 Girls in Love, Responsible Polygyny, the man, 1, is mysterious, fantastic. 2, you're not the only woman desiring him, meaning he's never, ever going to nag you for sex. He's never going to initiate when you don't feel like it. And if he does initiate and you don't feel like it, he doesn't get butthurt. And he doesn't get upset. Which happens all of the frickin' time in monogamous relationships. Especially when you're not married. Okay? Eventually the man figures out that, whatever. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to. But he ends up living a very desperate life and lonely life because he has to be quiet and shut up about his desires. Because and you still blame him for initiating and wanting that sexual contact because you don't want it. Because of all the burdens and everything that he's created, that's a problem that you're blaming him for. In Responsible Polygyny, in 3 Girls in Love, this does not happen because he initiates and he's completely okay that you're not okay with having sex with him at this point in time. Because there's someone else who wants to. And the moment he actually, is okay with you not wanting it, he goes to the other one and suddenly you want it. It's kind of interesting how that works. So sexuality in 3 Girls in Love will always be 10 times, if not 100 times, more pleasurable, more exciting, more fulfilling than it will be ever in monogamy. And the reason why is because you know you will never ever be left out when there's 3. If there's more or less than this, you will always feel like you're going to be left out. And that's one of the reasons why women in monogamy are so afraid of the man cheating. Is because they're afraid that he's going to find someone that's better, that's younger, that's more fertile, that's more beautiful. Because over time, his value rises, doesn't it? Women begin to eyeball him all of the time. The more high value he becomes, the more amazing he becomes, which is what you want, right? The more women are going to want to attract him to them, even though he's married, even though he's got someone, he's got you. And then you want him to be, only focused on you. That's great, but it's destructive for your sexuality. And in 3 Girls in Love, you can be assured that he's never ever going to commit adultery because he simply is massively fulfilled at home. If you talk to any marriage counselors, that's one of the biggest reasons why couples divorce, is because of the inequality when it comes to sex. Or, in other words, needs not being met, expectations not being met. And very often it's simply because the woman is not interested anymore, which is completely fine. But now we understand why. Women were designed for responsible polygyny. Women were designed for Three Girls in Love just as much as men were designed for Three Girls in Love. And there's so many different aspects I can talk about when it comes to exactly this. Women are attracted to power. Men are attracted to beauty and fertility and youth. And femininity is that. Femininity brings you youth and fertility for a long time. We believe that it's actually the youth elixir. It's the fountain of youth is femininity, your estrogen levels. The more estrogen you build, this is hormonal. This is how our bodies are built up. The more you have women around you who understand you, who love you, and you're fired up and excited to be with them on a daily basis, and you actually can, the more estrogen is going to fill your body, and the more estrogen is there, and balanced estrogen together with the right amount, it's like your body knows when everything is right. And responsible polygyny is with Three Girls in Love, okay? Specific 3, okay? It's never going to be 2, it's never going to be 4. Because those will mess up the hormones, okay? Those will you're not designed for that. Nature designed us for Three Girls in Love. For your hormones in that environment to work optimally. And when you're filled with estrogen, it's the fountain of youth. But let's look back at the thing that I explained, that men desire beauty and multiple women if they're masculine. Women desire one man alone. Okay, the more masculine you become, the more of a man you'll become, and that's why you start desiring multiple partners. That's messed up. And you know it. And it creates confusion, it creates fighting between the men, and if there's no fighting, it's nasty. Like, it's yuck. Like, you don't want your children to know that you've been sleeping around with tons of men. Like, and it may look from the outside as if there's a double standard of some sort. Not so when you are feminine. When you're masculine, yeah, of course there's a double standard, because, oh, well, if he sleeps around, then I should be allowed to sleep around. But that's because you're masculine. The man is feminine. And he's going to be thinking, well, I only want to be with her because she's amazing and I don't want to lose her. Because if I lose her, then I'll have no one. And you end up having that as a lover instead of having, you know, someone who's masculine, someone who's fired up outside their brain, someone who has a purpose that's not only you, and someone who's going somewhere. Masculinity. You want a masculine man. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we figured out that responsible polygyny and power for men was the way to go. The only problem is trust, right? If he is trustworthy. Because a man who receives a lot of power, people say that ultimate power ultimately corrupts. Not so if he's a trustworthy man, if he's a committed man, if he is a man of truth. Then it doesn't corrupt. Who is it in the universe that has ultimate power? Who? God. God has ultimate power. Can he be trusted? Yes, he can. Or can he? That's a good question, right? Of course he can be trusted. He has ultimate power. He's created this beautiful world. He's designed us in a perfect way. And when we abide by the truth, if we live the truth, we actually have exponential joy and happiness all of the frickin' time. It's an amazing system once you understand it. The moment you understand the system, you can be fired up outside your brain all of the time. Because it works. It literally simply works. And when we're not living according to that truth, where we're not living according to the principles, our design of men becoming masculine and women being feminine, we're messing up with his creation. We're going against his design. Our design is for men to be masculine, women to be feminine, have their 5% of the opposite, men having 5% of femininity in order for them to actually care, right? Because or else they'll be 95% indifferent, which you want them to do, because that's the problem in the world today. But they're also, you don't want men, and the solution is indifference, that they simply don't care, that they have to take all the blame, which I'm going to get back to. But 5%, you don't want men to be 50% feminine or 40 or 30% and you having to be a babysitter for the rest of your freaking life. That's what happens in monogamy. He becomes more feminine. He becomes more frail. He becomes more of a little boy, and you become the mother in the relationship. Every single time. If you become monogamous in the future, and I hope that you're going to be happy and everything's wonderful, blah, 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 but you will remember this video that I did of you having a child to raise extra on top of the kids you already have. That man will be a boy child because of his needs not being fulfilled, not being met, him not being a man, a masculine man for you. You'll remember this. And then you'll return back to these videos and understanding the man, understanding the woman, because it's so scientifically simple once we understand it and let go of our guard. Because the reason why you're masculine is because of a distrust in men. If you could trust men continuously, forever, you'd be feminine. And that's what we're trying for. That's what we're gunning for. If God can be trusted, then a masculine man who's committed, who's received a stamp of approval, he deserves a chance to be trusted too. And let's talk a little bit about that stamp of approval. In Three Girls in Love society, let's say in 200 to 300 years we actually manage to build up Three Girls in Love responsible polygyny to an amazing standpoint where most people in society actually live it. That's what we're gunning for. Eventually everyone will be there and that will become mainstream. And then women don't have to choose between their lover and following the mainstream and being rejected if they don't. Like basically my wife is, right? She's continuously rejected because we're going against the stream, right? Eventually, Three Girls in Love will be the mainstream. And then it will be following your lover and following the mainstream. And you'll be fired up outside your brain all of the time. How's it going to look like when it comes to the stamp of approval? In today and age, who's the stamp of approval? We'd love for fathers to be stamp of approvals, right? But maybe you'll have a father who doesn't believe in Three Girls in Love because it's so new, it's so fresh, he's never thought about it. And maybe he's religious, so he's against it. That's gonna happen. That's probably the biggest problem in Three Girls in Love polygyny. One of the downsides. There's very few cons. but there are a few, and one of them is family not understanding. Another one is society not understanding. But those are very easy to overcome. Eventually, okay? It's going to take time, but eventually we're going to get there. But the stamp of approval is amazing because that's how you make sure that the man is trustworthy. Long term, how's it going to look like? 100% of women, let's say 95% or 80% of women, are going to be in Three Girls in Love relationships, which means that there's going to be no porn, except for videos from the past, right? That the other men in society can have because they're not qualifying for Three Girls in Love yet. We never recommend porn because it messes up men's brains, and women's brains for that matter. And then you need the stamp of approval. Okay, no wait. So it's going to take away porn. It's going to take away prostitution. Yes, once and for all, we can get rid of the oldest profession in the world, prostitution. There's not going to be a need for prostitution anymore. They're not going to do it if they don't make good money on it. Women don't want to be prostitutes. Okay? If they wanted that, it's no. So, you get to the understanding of the stamp of approval when it comes to fathers. Okay? Men are going to be a little bit older than women once they get hitched. But once they get hitched, there's 3 fathers that he have to jump through hoops for. And those 3 fathers have to agree in order for them to give the stamp of approval to him. Don't you think those fathers in this kind of society are going to do their homework? Don't you think that they're going to say no and have the veto power amongst those 3 if they believe that this man is not right for this group of women? Absolutely. Are women going to be able to marry because of love? Of course. But the men, the fathers, will have lists. And they'll collaborate together to find the best man possible for you. And for women in general. So only trustworthy men who have earned the trust, who have the financial foundation, where everyone in society knows that that guy's ready. You're going to be in love with that guy. Or women in general are going to be in love with the guy who receives a stamp of approval. And if he's received a stamp of approval, it's not only the man's fault anymore, it's also the fault of the fathers if the man screws up. So there's not going to be very many divorces. It's not going to be any neglected children or orphans. It doesn't work like that because there's going to be a more family-oriented society. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And today, monogamy is hard, okay? It sucks. And you might have seen it, but you don't recognize it. You just think you were with the wrong person. No, it's the system that's flawed, okay? All of your past relationships have failed. And you're probably on my channel because you're single. That's normal. And you look back at those relationships, if you understand the principles on this channel, you'll see every single thing of why it went wrong. It's because he was a girl. That's basically the reason. If he had been a masculine guy, it would have worked out. But he wasn't. He wasn't committed. He wasn't trustworthy. He didn't do things according to masculinity. If he had done it right and responsibly, you would have still been with him today. That's what I'm saying. It's the system that's flawed. It's not you. You're not broken. And what he did was feminine. And him being feminine in some ways is not quite his fault either because it's a product of monogamy. He had a mother that was monogamous. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he had a mother that was sleeping around with tons of men. So he never had a father figure that stayed for the long term. So he ended up becoming a girl. That's the system we're living in today. That system will change. Over time, men that are marriageable or that are worthy of your collaboration and adoration, they will be trustworthy because they're handpicked and selected by 3 fathers, not just 1, 3. And everyone's going to agree with that. Those are going to be huge flippin' weddings. But you're going to have 3 fathers who have money who's going to pay for it. So that's going to be exciting. But even though, this day and age we can't get married, but eventually in the future it's going to become legal. And that's the slippery slope of allowing gay marriage, is that eventually 3 Girls in Love responsible polygyny will also be made allowed. What's the point? Stamp of approval. It's amazing. We only want trustworthy men. So monogamy's hard, and right now 3 Girls in Love is hard because of the rejection of other people and what other people think. Of course. But eventually it's going to become easy for women and children. It's going to be amazing for them. But it's going to be hard for men. But that's a fantastic thing. Understand that men are wired for failure. Men are wired for overcoming their shortcomings and their weaknesses. Men are wired to go from femininity to masculinity. Women are wired to stay in their femininity by not being blamed. Men are desired or men are designed to be massively blamed as long as they've got testosterone. Kids 0 to 9 years old, not to be blamed ever. Men, however, over the age of 12, okay, 9 to 12 is kind of like a transition period, but 12 upwards, men are to be blamed and to take responsibility and be diligent and work hard for their dream. And their dream at that moment in time will eventually be, I want a family of my own, because there's a shortage of men, of amazing men, and I want to compete and make sure that I have more power, that I'm more attractive, and that I've become the man who's trustworthy that other women want to be with, but most importantly, that fathers are willing to give their stamp of approval of that they're right. In today and age, we'll have this channel. We'll have the Men of High Value channel, the Girls of High Value channel, to create that stamp of approval. I want 100% success rate. So I'm not going to ever recommend a guy that's not trustworthy. They exist though. Actually, you'd be surprised how many trustworthy guys there are out there. Actually, most of the male population is trustworthy. It's just that you're not attracted to them because they're nice guys. Well, I'm turning nice guys into massively masculine guys for you. Over time, it's going to happen. But the stamp of approval system makes things amazing and makes it hard for 2/3 of the male population. That's a good thing, because that means that he's going to become before he ever gets the reward of 3 Girls in Love and has the opportunity to basically mess with their brain and mess things up with kids and become a huge problem. A man who's committed, who understands the woman, and who has a strong financial foundation and received a stamp of approval from 3 fathers, he's going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. So let's see. Oh, women hate being left out, right? Did you know that men love to be left out of female conversations and being in the home? He likes to know that in his home that he protects and provides for, they're happy and fulfilled without him. He loves to know that. I love to know that. We want to be left out so that we can come and be there 5 to 20% of the time and be massively rewarded for the effort we made out in the workplace. If women chose to be at home, which would be the norm in 3 Girls in Love, Responsible Polygyny, then guess what would happen in the workplace? Salaries would double for men, right? Because right now, we've got tons of women in the workspace, we've got tons of men in there, and men and women are competing for jobs. How sick is that? It really is sick, because men are not supposed to compete with women. We're creating masculinity for both, and yet we're all remaining in our femininity. It's a problem. That's why the world is the way it is. But women going back inside their home to have time and money freedom and be with the people that they want to be with on a daily basis and not have to ever worry about finances, absolutely amazing. And the man is designed to make 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more money than he needs for himself. And he's fired up about it on a daily basis to do that if he's a masculine man. A feminine man is going to be part of the Thank Goodness It's Friday club. That's not the kind of guy you want to be married to, that you want to get hitched with. Not at all. You want someone who's fired up to make money. You don't want someone who's fired up outside of his brain of being with you guys all day, every day. Vacation's great, okay? But on a daily frickin' basis? No, get your ass out of here. That's what you want to say to men who are home all of the time, because you know that their businesses are suffering when they're at home. Your income as a woman is suffering when the man is at home. But in monogamy, you've got to choose. Do I want him to be at home because that's the immediate result? Or do I want him to go out there and make lots and lots of money? which is a long-term result, and because I'm a woman, I'm irrational, and I'm always going to choose the now. And the now is not making you guys wealthy. Becoming wealthy is easy. It's a piece of freaking cake for a man who's motivated. But he's not motivated because you've got the pants in the relationship and he needs to stay at home, and then he basically lets go of his career. And he only does it because he has to. And if he only does it because he has to, then he's only going to make a certain amount of money, and that's it. And you don't want that kind of guy. You want a guy who wants exponential growth in abundance in terms of resources, exponential growth in him becoming a master in martial arts and protecting, and an exponential growth in joy and happiness for him, but also for you guys. Understand the time and money freedom thing. It is insane. If women simply understood that, is it possible that I can retire young and retire early as an 18-year-old who's never ever been in the workforce? Literally? Yeah. That's what 3 Girls in Love Responsible Polygyny allows you to do. You'll never have to work another day in your life, because doing domestic labor, when you love your man, when you love yourself, and when you love your best friends forever, and when you love your kids, is a gift. You love to give acts of service. You love to nurture. That's the feminine spirit, which means that you'll never ever work a day in your life because you're passionate about it. Now, right now in monogamy, it doesn't feel as if vacuuming and doing laundry and doing the dishes and making food every day is a passion. It sucks when you're by yourself. Ask any monogamous woman who does most of the chores at home and who wants the man to help out with chores. Men weren't designed to help out with chores in the home. We hate it, like with a passion. And we only do it because we want peace in the home. Because we know that if we do it, we'll at least get pity sex. It's disgusting. This is how it works in most monogamous relationships. And in 3 Girls in Love Responsible Polygyny, the man does not have to think about it because it's already taken care of. Any little itty bit problem does not have to do only with domestic things. Amazing. I'm doing another diversion here. But returning back to the passive income of not ever having to work another day in your life. You'll have time and money freedom. You guys can do whatever you want as long as you stay within the boundaries of him being the only man in your life. You guys can go out and travel. You guys can go out and do and shop and basically take care of what you want to do. You guys can develop talents. You can go scuba diving when he's at work slaving away. Like, do you understand what's possible for you in a responsible 3 Girls in Love polygyny relationship where the man takes care of everything and he's the one who's to blame about everything? You guys can do whatever you want. Man, it's an amazing system, and it's not just for men. Another aspect. Comment down below if you have more questions. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. We need to bring this message out to the rest of the population. Men are going to easily accept it like this because we're designed that way. But we zip our mouths and we never talk about other women around you because we can't. Right? If we do, oh my gosh. Thunder and lightning is going to happen, so we stop talking about it. We don't want to, create, war by talking about it. But the moment women begin to understand this, oh my gosh, it's going to be beautiful. There's never going to be any children. Eventually, once it becomes a 3 Girls in Love society, all children will be born within committed, loving relationships that last for life. There's not going to be any foster care. There's not going to be any adoptive services because 100% of women are happy and in a beautiful relationship with the committed guy who's trustworthy. It's the system that we were designed to live. And the last thing, let's see if there's something I've forgotten. Blame. The man takes all of the blame. Blame is what makes you masculine. Blame is what makes you take too much responsibility upon you that makes you masculine. Blame is what kills you. You know inherently that you're not supposed to be blamed because emotions happen to you. You can't control them. And because you can't control your emotions, it's not your fault. It's someone else's fault because this happened to you. You were not the instigator of those emotions. Inherently, feminine creatures blame. And if you want men to become feminine, you're basically encouraging them to blame. You're saying, yeah, you need to blame us. Come on. I want you to blame us. I want you to blame the government. I want you to blame everyone. Because you know what happens when you blame? You stay the same. Feminine men remain in their childhood because they blame. The moment they take responsibility, they become masculine. You take responsibility, you'll become masculine. And because men and women are polar opposites and you're working towards masculinity instead of working on remaining in your femininity, guess what? The men are going to remain in their femininity and blame women and blame government and blame capitalists and everyone out there making money because they're not getting their fair share of the pie. That's disgusting. You want men to take responsibility and to jump through hoops to serve you and to make sure that you're protected and happy at all times. That's what we can make happen with masculine men. Blame, taking that blame, is what unifies women. You want harmony amongst 3 women? As a man, you take the blame. You want harmony amongst 3 women in 3 Girls in Love? As a woman, you give him the blame, meaning you blame him every time there's a small problem, every time there's a small tiff, every time there's issues. It's his fault. It's a beautiful system when you can blame someone and you know it's going to be taken care of. He's going to improve that environment and make things better for all 3 of you because he's fired up outside of his brain of being able to provide that kind of lifestyle for you, and in return, he's massively rewarded for it. Man, it's gonna be amazing. I think that's it, guys. I could I could say a lot more about it, but okay, one final thing. Do you want to be in love for the rest of your life? In love. You can know with the certainty, a security, that he's never ever going to leave you. You can know with the certainty that he's never ever going to commit adultery. You can know for certainty that you will always love him a little bit tiny more than he loves you, except for the fact that it's not going to be possible because he's going to worship all 3 of you. When a man is massively rewarded and emotionally fulfilled, his capacity to love is absolutely amazing. But 3 Girls in Love allows a man to love with a passion. He's not able to do that in monogamy. In monogamy, he has to restrict his love because he has so much capacity for love that it frightens you. It scares you how much love men actually have inside. In 3 Girls in Love polygyny, men and women meet perfectly in the middle and are able to be in love continuously for the rest of their lives. There is no other system that allows for this to be the case. If you believe in love and you want to be in love with one man for the rest of your life, there is nothing else. 3 Girls in Love polygyny is the shit. Monogamy will always make you fall out of love. And if you don't fall out of love and you stay in love forever, you may know for a certainty that he's not around because you love those that leave you behind. That's the case with monogamy. So if you love being in love, which is great, and you absolutely love your man, or you want to love your man with a passion for the rest of your life, because you know that your children are going to be blessed if you are in love with your man, then 3 Girls in Love is for you. This is the 3 Girls in Love, Girls of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I'll see you in the next video.